Well, I've so enjoyed getting to hear all the conversation this morning. It's a great way to get started, just get us getting to know each other and just all the different parts of the world we're from. So far this morning, we've heard from London, we've heard from Romania, we have the US, or any other countries in the world are represented this morning. Okay. And so you just never know. We have people, we've literally had every single concept to Antarctica at some point,
Well,
folks gone from. So we're still hoping for Antarctica someday, maybe. So anyway, so welcome to the Spinoza Havurah. This is for our Sukkot service. And it's a time of sharing. This is going to be a little more of an informal Sukkot service than if you might have attended in the past. I am using Martin's liturgy. I'm actually using his liturgy for the home service, which is a little different than his full-blown service. And partly is this service I'm using his basic structure, but we're having more discussion because I think that's really in the spirit of the holidays in some way. The idea of being outside gathered under a sukkah is the idea of fellowship, of being with friends and family, and that kind of special feeling. And this year is a little weird to me because I'm not in a sukkah. Last year I had a really nice sukkah set up in the backyard. This year I just did not have the time. So we're having to imagine it. We're having to picture. I think Miriam, your background may do the best job of it with the sky so beautiful on the
yeah, I know. If only, if only.
yeah, but I love
No,
it.
Leeds
So
normally gets off pretty lightly, so that wouldn't be convincing. If I was down in South Yorkshire, maybe. They get more snow than we do.
yeah.
A lot
So
more.
so most of us this morning are having to use our powers of imagination, but I'm encouraging us to do so to put ourselves in that kind of
Oh,
space because I
it's
think
us,
it's
gonna be us.
makes it a good way to be. So
Yeah,
anyway,
that's
a few
us.
other housekeeping things is that when you're not talking in a service, go ahead and be muted just because we sometimes do have background noise issues. Also, I think we have a few bits of singing, but the same thing to go ahead and mute. The problem is just the voices coming in from different speeds gets all jumbled up. It kind of gets kind of messy. But other than that, I do encourage you to unmute. If you want to if we have everyone wanting to talk at once in the discussion time, we can always use the raise hand function, but usually it works pretty smoothly just to, um, for folks to jump in after another. But we'll have some time for discussion later on today. Last housekeeping that you mention is that if you're not on our email list, be sure and email us at spinozahavra@gmail.com to get added to our email list. One other thing I should mention while I'm getting the program for today queued up is that for our readings and stuff, we really try to make it as participatory as possible. But that is doubly so this morning for any of the Hebrew part. So if anyone wants readings, that's awesome. If not, there's a few of them I'm going to do. I'm not going to do most of them because my Hebrew skills are not that great. And so we may skip some of the parts in Hebrew, but if someone would like to do the Hebrew parts, that's always awesome. So, speaking of that, would someone like to read this first reading and starting where it says one person reads?
Sorry, are
Just
you
unmute.
looking for somebody to read
Yeah,
this?
yeah, yes, yes. If someone would like to read it, please just go ahead and read it.
Okay, I'll read that out loud then.
Thank you.
Gathering. Gather at your table or in near your sukkah at dusk if possible. One person reads, Sukkot marks the autumn harvest when our ancestors built temporary shelters in the fields and gathered the fruits of their labor. Tonight, we celebrate human creativity, cooperation, and our connection to Earth's cycles. We stand at the threshold between summer and winter, between light and dark. The Earth is turning. Let's begin by noticing. What signs of autumn have you seen this week? Everyone shares one autumn observation.
Thank you so much. So, I would love it. Let's open it up for just a few minutes of sharing things that we've seen in our worlds, wherever we're at. And also, if anyone's in the Southern Hemisphere, please feel free to share your spring observations. But would love to hear what everyone's experience of seasons have been so far. For us here in
Um,
Oklahoma, with the leaves are just starting to change. It's still very early on, but it's interesting. The leaves are kind of it's like the edges of trees, the ones that are starting to change have changed, but it's just starting to transition. So that's where we're at.
Okay, in London, there's a pavement of golden leaves on the pavement as you walk along. Really gold,
Mm-hmm.
bright gold, and dry because it hasn't rained, which is
Mm-hmm.
unusual. That looks very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Up
Where I
in
live in Florida,
Leeds,
the
yes,
leaves
there's
haven't
still
changed.
some green, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but they're flowers still. There are some flowers that are still there, surprised me. But also some of the flowers have you get bushes where some of the flowers are still there, and other times they've all brown and withered. So you've got the same on one bush, and of course, a few weeks' time, a few weeks in the future, everything will be brown. But at the moment, you've got both, so it feels like a very in between period.
Hmm.
Here, as it's gotten a little cooler, it has finally gotten cooler. Some of the flowers are doing better, actually, and we haven't really had the leaves turn yet.
Just around the edges.
Yeah.
Some, yeah, yellow is sort of what you said, James.
Yeah, some yellow leaves on the ground, but you don't see them on the trees a lot,
Yeah,
just the early little bits.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's certain species. Like I've noticed all the sycamores all of a sudden change, but then other species haven't changed at all yet. So it's real.
We'll have to check. We have a lot of sycamores, but it's a block away, so we can't really see them from here. We'll have to check that out.
Where I live in Florida, the leaves hasn't changed, but the pine needles have been falling.
Hmm.
Interesting.
And some trees have sort of turned red, just red. I wonder what they are. Some big shrubs or small trees have just kind of turned red around the
Sometimes the
edges.
Japanese maples change all at once like that.
Is that
And
okay?
they can be kind of shorter, like little shrubs, depending on how people prune them and stuff.
Yeah, we have some here. The
Oh,
ones
what's the
right
one
here
right
have,
here?
look at our Nate. That hasn't happened right
No,
here.
that hasn't turned yet.
No, that one hasn't
Hmm.
turned, but in the
That
neighborhood
may be something
near,
else.
yeah, I
Um,
just
the
noticed.
other thing that's very noticeable in London is that daylight hours are getting much shorter.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
very quickly getting much shorter.
Yeah.
very quickly. Yeah,
Too quickly for me. I like the daylight.
yeah. No,
I'm always surprised at how high up the UK is latitude wise. We tend to think of it in the
Mhm.
US that uh, like where our temperate regions and where yours are in Europe are different. So that far north, you're thinking it'd be super cold, and it really isn't. But it's I don't know, it's the Gulf Stream and all that. But it's kind of interesting. But it's also like y'all have the really short. It gets the seasonal differences in daylight and dark are so pronounced just the further north you get. So.
That's true, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Mhm.
so for our next piece, I'm gonna go ahead and sing this one. Hine matovu manahim shevet amim gam yakad. Hine matovu manahim shevet amim gam yakad. Shevet amim gam yakad. That is not a traditional melody, obviously. You might recognize it from the musical Oklahoma from Oh, What a Beautiful Morning, but I thought it I've heard it before. I liked it. So, behold how good and how pleasant it is for people to dwell together.
And James is in Oklahoma, so
Yes, there's that too.
That's lovely. I love
yeah.
that.
Yeah, we have a student cantor that introduced that to us at the Reform Temple. I sometimes participate in, and I just like it. It's a very delight. And it just kind of works with the tune, which is nice. So.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, this is a tiny bit more untraditional. I'm going to go ahead and light festival candles this morning. Normally, if you're more traditional, you wouldn't do that because it's daylight in this part of the world, but I'm not quite that traditional. So, Baruch Haor Shehu Rohet Baruch Haho Shek Kishen. Sorry, my Hebrew is not good this morning. Would someone who Jonathan, would you be able to read this one?
Sure. Baruch ha'or kashehu pochet. Baruch ha'choshek kashehu gadel. Brucha ha'ona hamidvachet. Baruch ha'or hasukot.
Amen. And here are our festival, let's see, festival lights burning. And now, who would like to recite the English here for the Sheshianu? Starting with where it says one person speaks. Go ahead and unmute yourself, anyone who'd like to read this.
I'll go. We have survived another year. Some of us carry grief, some of us carry joy. All of us carry the season we have lived through.
Let us bless the strength within us that has kept us alive, sustained us, and brought us to this time. Amen. So now for this next bit of our teaching, I did want to mention, did anyone today have the chance to put together a localized lulav and etrog? Excellent. Y'all did, Betty Ann did, I did. Did anyone else get to do that activity? Okay, so Paula and Betty Ann, would you like to tell us about your localized lulav and etrog? And I'm going to turn off screen share for a moment. There we go.
Okay. I did this yesterday. It's starting to fade away here.
Yeah.
This is the ugliest lemon we could find. And this is out in our backyard. We have ferns. This one's starting to dry up. This, which I think is redbud.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone gave us an absolutely gorgeous bouquet of flowers to thank us for taking care of it, one of their relatives for a time. And the bouquet was all gone, but the leather leaf was still good till yesterday. Everything's going now. And so it's called Salal, I think. It's from the west coast of the United States. And so that's our
I love that.
more or less local lulav.
Yeah.
But what I really liked was you incorporating that bit of the bouquet that has, positive memories about. I like that a lot. So.
Yeah.
Well, on mine, I had to be quite creative because we just don't have much that's flowering or blooming at the present moment. So here is mine, and I'll explain the components. First of all, we don't really have anything fruiting. So what I do have, though, are beans that I grew in the garden this year. And these are kind of special beans because they are Tipperary beans. A species of bean is different. It's a different species than the common bean, but it's grown in the U.S. and the southwest of North America, in northern Mexico and in Arizona, especially by the Thana'afan people. And so I learned about the beans from a class I took through their tribal college. So I grew them this year, and it was a really interesting experience. And I'm specifically experimenting with them because I think with climate change, we're going to have to be better at growing dryland crops in Oklahoma. So I experimented with them. For the other parts, though, of my localized lulav and etrog, I have a bit of corn stalk, or I think in Europe you often call it maize. But this is a special species of corn that I grew this year in the garden that's from the Cherokee Nation. And some of my family origin is from the Cherokee, so I was really excited to get some of these seeds. It's a Cherokee flour white corn. And so it's one that's not a sweet corn, but it's meant for grinding in the flour. Anyway, I was excited I only had 8 seeds, and I got enough to have, I had like two ears of corn by the end of it. So I have enough seeds for next year to grow a much bigger plot. But my goal right now is just to save the seeds to build up, because these are not seeds you can buy commercially so easily. So the other parts of this, we have some pear trees in our yard. So I have some pear leaves. And then I have some willow, which is part of the more traditional lulav and etrog. And this is the willow grows down by the creek about a quarter mile, which would be like maybe 1,000 meters or so from here. So anyway, that's my localized lulav and etrog. So let's go ahead and so we're going to go ahead and do the next part, which is talking about the components of the traditional lulav and etrog. But as we're having this conversation, if you think of if something sparks in you of maybe different plants that have meanings for you as well that might be relevant, feel free to that's completely fine for the conversation as well. So let me go back to share screen for this next part. Okay, so the 4 species as autumn teachers. So we have brought plants into our ceremony. We have the plants that we're imagining now, but also the plants that we showed on camera a little bit ago from 2 different parts of North America. But instead of being told what they mean, let us now examine them as part of the autumn landscape. So the first one is the lulav, or the palm. And so here, the question Martin gives us is, palms grow in oases, places of water in the desert. What are your oases?
Well, my oasis is the little garden that I look out on from my kitchen and my living room window in London, which is very built up.
Mhm.
So, although I confess I never actually sit in my garden, I'm constantly looking at it, and I feel my garden is very good for my soul. I
Hmm.
think it's really important to have that visual aspect.
Yeah.
Well, we'll say we live in a condominium. We have there's 4 units in our building, and it's just a front and a back. We're in the middle. We're not on the end. But there is a huge wall of window at the back, and all kinds of greenery. And not in the winter, of course, the leaves fall. And it's just it makes. I mean, as soon as we walked in this place, we saw that, and we said, "This we're getting this condominium." It's it really is our oasis, I would say. Yeah, but all the time year round.
I think with me, it's not anywhere I actually live, but it's a particular place which I think a lot of us will identify, a library. It's called the
Hmm.
Leeds Library, which is a subscription library. It's in the centre of Leeds and it's 250 years old. It's there, you go there if you like books, you're surrounded by books, you're surrounded by other people who love books. It's got lots of company here, chair, and you've got tea and coffee really cheaply, and it's just wow, I could just melt and disappear, and it doesn't matter who I'm with, whatever we disagree, and it's just a wonderful place. And I love that to bits, and I'm so glad I discovered it a few years back,
Hmm.
my oasis.
Is that near the university?
No, it's very central. I can't remember whether it's Commercial Street. It's it's near where the old W.H. Smith was.
Because
Very,
I
very
used to,
central. You'll have
I,
seen it plenty of times because it's on the second floor, but you
I
might have
used
just missed it if you walk past. You sort of have to know it's there to find it. But they are much
I
more visible now. What they
because I
do
think
each day, they have a little
uh,
sign outside which says word of the day, and they put this word up and then they say what it means. It's always something interesting and unusual, and they're quite flexible about what dictionaries they choose the words from. So now you will see that, and you'll see the door, you look up and think, this is interesting. And they do like visitors, and they hold events there, so even if you're not a member, you could still go there.
talking about putting signs up to make you think outside places. In London, they have posters at the London Underground stations, some of them, and they scribble a new thought on them every day. But the thought I like best and which seems most appropriate for the underground stations is if you can't see a light at the end of the tunnel, go down and light the bloody thing yourself, which I think is a very good motto for life, I think that's brilliant.
I like
And I
that.
do love the idea of a library being an oasis. I think that's
Hmm.
very
Absolutely.
relatable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll admit, when I heard the question, I immediately thought of the city of Mazatlan, Mexico, and I'm thinking about that because my family went there about a year ago, and I think we're going to hopefully get to go. Well, no, we went in March, and it was a pretty dark time for our family. We were struggling with our feelings about a really bad election here in the U.S. and some bad things in the political world that affects our family in some pretty personal ways, and being in a place where a lot of that silliness just wasn't an issue for a while and where people treated each other really nicely. That was not how the US was feeling at that moment, but being in Mexico felt. And I remember thinking, this is an always, I need to remember this feeling and imagine it when I get discouraged in the coming year. And I've done it often since then. Just a really special place.
For me, one of my oases is Shabbat. You know,
Mm.
I often want to get something accomplished or feel something's not complete or my life has this problem or that thing I need to, whatever it's going to be. And I try on Shabbat. I don't always achieve it, but I try to just accept the world where it is, and appreciate where I am, wherever that is. And that's something. It's one of the things I value most about Judaism, actually.
Mm.
Mm.
Well, that goes back to that idea of Shabbat being a place in time, not a place in space. And I like that idea. Well, for our next bit of the service, let me go back to share screen. The just shall thrive like the palm tree, shall grow tall like Lebanon cedar. And a lot of these readings at the end are kind of sparked by the shape of the plant. And so when it's in the form of being bound together in the lulav and etrog, but kind of it's kind of ideas sparked by the shape of the plant. So our next one is the etrog, a fruit, a citron. And so we're gonna have to imagine this. We don't have a smell-o-vision, way to convey smells through the computer. But if you've ever smelled a citron, I got to a few days ago when I was at my another service and got to wave the lulav and etrog. And right before I waved it, I sniffed it, and just that very vibrant, super lemony, but kind of florally kind of smell. And so if you've ever smelled that, but if you haven't, imagine just a really fragrant lemon. And here's what he says. It's fragrant even as other things decay. Where do you find beauty in autumn? So who has some thoughts on that? Where do you find beauty in autumn? And we've already been talking about that some, but I think we can expand that now, not just to thinking about the natural world, but in our lives and this season generally. I'm finding beauty for my son. He's a freshman in college at a really incredible. We're so fortunate that we found the school that he's found, and getting to see him blossom has been a delight. He's he's so ambitious and so excited about his studies, and I don't know where it's kind of fascinating, but it's also been really affirming to our family. We've taken some very different educational choices, and we didn't know how he would do, but we homeschooled actually, and we just didn't know how that would play out. But he's done so well in university so far, so that's been a real delight. So, what are other delights for you this autumn season?
Children and grandchildren.
Well, perhaps slightly similarly to you. I have a granddaughter who's just started, guess where, at Leeds University, Miriam, and she struggled at school at her O levels, and then switched to a different college for her A levels. That's advanced exams to get into university. For
Mhm.
those who don't understand the British educational system. And anyway, because I knew that she had been quite vulnerable at 16, I was a bit concerned about her going away from home to study because it can be quite stretching.
Sure.
Anyway, she's been at Leeds University now for about 5 weeks or so, and she doesn't bother terribly much to, not on the phone to her parents every day. So she seems to be settling in very happily, and that
Good,
is
good.
that is a great source of delight for me.
Absolutely. I will admit that for my son, I am very glad though he's not too far away. My wife and I, he's our
Mm.
only son, so we were
Mm.
quite happy when it worked out for him to go to a really good school 20 miles away. So he is living at
Right.
school. He lives in the dorms, so he could have some independence, but we also get to see him every weekend, which is nice. So
Okay. Okay.
as long as he has laundry we need for him to do.
Mm.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely a lot of my joy, and I think our joys
Yes.
are right now are coming from our daughter in particular, and our grandson. Our daughter is wonderful. They don't live close. They live down in North Carolina, but she's wonderful, and just she loves sharing and telling us. She texts us and calls us, mostly texts us with pictures and her news and news of our 10-year-old grandson there, who is just
Extraordinary.
extraordinary. Yeah, he's a wonderful little guy, and he has passions. He loves dancing, he loves acting, he's in performances, he's excited about all kinds of things, learning instruments, and he's just a wonderful person. He gets reports from school about how good he is to other kids, and how when kids are being bullied, he's right there to say, let's do this another way. Let's be good to people.
It's amazing.
It's really, yeah, he's really a dear
Yeah.
little boy. Of course, we're grandparents,
Yeah.
but anyway, that is definitely
Yeah, we
a
just got
source
some
of,
very fabulous news about that
yeah,
a
well,
day or two ago, and it was really,
yeah, not to mention what he's doing just with his schoolwork and stuff. But
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just, everything isn't super easy for them, and or for anybody, I think, in this
yeah,
country right
economically
now.
things are getting tighter everywhere, and
And it's
Yeah.
just, it's, politically, it's just,
yeah,
and I do get stressed out by it. There's no question. It affects my whole body. And so it's very lovely to have that
Yeah.
really,
Mhm.
in every, and she's wonderful. We always say you have to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. And
She does.
and she really does. And we have good talks, and it's just, it's a great
Oh,
time.
that is nice.
So anyway, that's us right now. That's where we're at.
Well, we're gonna try something here. Martin here has a spot for a song. I'm gonna try it, but it has a YouTube video. I'm gonna try doing it through the share sound thing. If it does not work, let me know in the chat, but I'm hoping the sound will come through okay.
עבדו את השם בשמחה, בואו לפניו ברננה.
Actually, I realize now he meant that just for the tune of that. That's not the words that he has. So let me pull up his words. I'm not going to try, we're not going to try singing this one this morning, but the chorus goes, love, love, love life with happiness. Come into community with joy. So for the next of the plants we'll be looking at this morning is the myrtle. And it says, its leaves grow in groups of three. Who are your groups of three, your small communities of support? So how, what answers might we have to this idea of small communities of support? I think for me, I'm thinking about our leadership team within Havurah. I think that, it's Martin, me, Paula, and Betty Ann. That's definitely a community of support. And we're always looking out for each other. We all do different things, but we try to help each other and support each other in that. And I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
And
So do we.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm also thinking about a family that my family's really close to, that we've been through a lot of stuff together. We take vacations together and stuff, and we got to see them. We stayed up way too late last night. That's why I'm a little bit sleepy this morning, as we were up too late with them. But friends like that can be really a delight, and just make the challenging parts of life a little bit better. Would someone like to read this, where it starts with what says someone reads? Would someone like to read that?
To stay alive through winter requires both persistence and flexibility. May we, like the myrtle, green and bendable, rooted and responsive.
The myrtle stays green, adapts, heals. This prayer says we too must persist, adapt, and work toward healing, toward tikkun olam, repair of the world. It's not enough to see, we must act. And let's go ahead and read this together. It is upon us to praise the beauty of the world, even as we fall and rise up, and to continue the work of repairing the world, for we have the power to build and repair, and it is in our hands to bring about redemption. Aleinu lishbeach leafat tehevel lefol vela amol letikun olam kibokeu henu livnot olotegen uve yadenu lematsi a geula. And now we come to the willow, and I'm excited because this is one that I actually have this morning with me. Now it says the willow will lose its leaves. It's already beginning, and I can see here just the tiniest little bits, a few spots where just these leaves were just starting to change. Probably by next week, they'll be starting to look a lot more yellow. And so it says the willow will lose its leaves. It's already beginning. What are you ready to let go of? Oh, that's a really, really, really good question. I think for me, I would say that one of the endeavors I have for this new Jewish year was to let go of some maladaptive coping strategies of life, some ways of dealing with things that just have not worked for me. And that's easier said than done because it requires learning new coping strategies. But for me, it's been really clear. There's some things that just I thought were helping that are not. And so it's time to do something different. So.
Yeah, well, just shaking things up a bit like that. I know what you mean. Just yeah, just yeah, I don't know.
Do you have anything specific in mind?
Oh, I'd love to let go of some of my sort of, well, is it free floating anxiety at this point, or I don't know what, but
I'd love to let go of being such a control freak in my
Mhm.
life. Um, I got divorced about 20 years ago after a 35-year marriage, and I have two sons, and I thought I am going to make sure that I am very independent of them in terms of not relying on them for support in managing my life. And now I've got to a point where I think actually it's time to hand over some of the work that I do, some of the business work to them, so that I have a bit of time to live my life and not be so involved with the little business that I've got going, and not be such a control freak in terms of managing. I do manage very well, but I must let other people do it now. So it's giving up that and learning to hand it over and not being so involved and actually pursue projects that I have in mind, that some of them that have been waiting 20 years, that will actually enrich my soul. I know what I want to do, and it's not what I've been involved in for the last 20 years. And so it's giving that up.
Mhm.
And I know it's a wise decision. And I know that won't be an easy decision for me because I'm a very bad delegator, but I've got to learn to delegate.
Okay, can I go next?
Yes.
Okay, sure. Well, I'm listening and nodding to what a lot of people are saying. And I think it's just with me trying to be kinder to myself. So the flip side in terms of letting go is sort of not beating myself up about not achieving stuff, trying to do everything, overcommitting, then berating myself when I go wrong. Just say, be a bit looser, be kind. In a sense, it's a way of saying, be kinder to yourself, protect yourself, accept your limitations. Because I just always want to do the opposite, say, push myself and push myself. And maybe that's the culture, but it just exhausts me, and psychologically it's not the right thing for me. I just find it extraordinarily difficult, but it's essential for me, and to be honest, it's sensible for all those that care about me and who I care for deeply. But it is just very, very difficult.
It's harder to do that for oneself, do it for other people. Telling them to be. No, because I what you said about being kind to yourself, I have a close friend to whom I frequently say that. Just
Mhm.
don't be hard on yourself. Just be kinder, and that's what you have said to me. Treat yourself, the way you would treat a friend.
That's right.
And I think about that. I try.
Oh, me too. Now, if I treated myself the way I treated other people, I wouldn't have very many friends. Um, so I think, to me, that tells me something's out of whack there. So
I
one of the
think
many
you
things
I
to
think you
work
meant
on.
that in reverse, didn't you?
Probably
Treat your
so.
friends the way you treat yourself, you wouldn't have many friends.
Yes, yes, that's
You
what I
really meant
meant.
to say that, yes.
That makes more sense. You're right.
Yeah. Oh.
Hmm. The willow teaches the wisdom of letting go. Its leaves will fall. It will look dead, but it is only resting, gathering strength for spring. When we know when to release and trust that we are not ending, only transforming. So the next part is the actual shaking of the lulav, and that I'm not quite sure how to do that as well in an online thing. I think what we'll do though is why don't we uh let's do this. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. I'm going to copy and paste. Let's see if I can do it. Nah, that might be challenging. Let's just go ahead and do it. We'll do it as a reading. And for those of us who have lulavs and etrogs handy, we can shake them, but we'll just do it as a reading. And let's do it kind of popcorn style. So what I mean by that is like each of these says facilitator, something in quotation marks. And then after that, the next one is right after the first shake. Let's do it this way. I'm making this too complicated. Let's take turns reading like the first one would be first shake east, and then reading that line after that, shake 3 times, and then another person. So we'll just take turns reading this by chunks. So we shake these plants in 6 directions of the earth, where the sun rises. I'll say that our first shake is east, where the sun rises, even as it rises later each day. So we'll shake 3 times. And who will go ahead? Someone else can start with the next one for the south.
Where the warmth lives, turn south together. South where warmth lives as we move toward cold.
And so now we shake 3 times. And as hopefully you can hear, I'm shaking on my end.
I'm shaking mine.
Good. So our next one is who would read the third shake?
Where the sun sets earlier and earlier.
The shake to the west. The fourth shake to the north, where winter comes from.
Fifth shake up toward the sky that changes.
The sixth shake down into the earth that receives what falls. And now we have a time of stillness. We place our lulav down gently, and we'll take a moment for silence. We have shaken in the 6 directions of the earth. We are part of these cycles, the lengthening darkness, the coming cold, the changing sky, the receiving earth. As we enter autumn, may we move with the seasons, not against them. And now let's go ahead and take turn, like each of us can read a paragraph. So if someone would like to start with generations come and go.
Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course.
Yeah. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to keep and a time to throw away.
A person can...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you can go next if you want.
Okay, and then once you go, do the one after that.
Sure.
A person will
All
do
good.
nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all of their toil. This is the gift.
2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone?
Go eat your food with gladness and drink your wine with a joyful heart. Enjoy life with your loved ones all the days of this life that you have under the sun.
May we learn from autumn. May we live with the seasons. May we create justice that mirrors nature's redistribution. May we find beauty in letting go. May we prepare for winter with wisdom and solidarity. May we remember we are part of the earth, not separate from it. And I thought for our final bit of, well, let's see, what do we, oh, no, we have one more song, and then we will have a little more discussion at the very end. Let's go ahead and do this song. This is our humanistic version of Oseh Shalom. Nase Shalom Ba'olam. Nase Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel. Ve'noamar. Ve'nomar. Amen. Let us make peace in the world. Please let us make peace upon us, upon all Israel, and upon all who dwell on earth. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
And so now we are imaginatively gathering in the sukkah for the last bit of our time together, because there's a tradition for sukkah of inviting guests. And of course, we all in different parts of the world gathered together, but we also might want to invite guests in our imagination, maybe people, loved ones that we would want to share a story about, maybe someone from history. So I want to invite everyone, if you want to share for a minute or two about someone that you would invite to the sukkah today, and what would you tell? Do you have a little short story about them? What makes them special to you? But that'll be what we'll close up our time today with. Okay, if I was going to invite anybody, and I could invite truly anyone, no limitations at all, if it was someone living, I would invite Claudia Sheinbaum, the new president of Mexico. She's a fascinating, fascinating human being. She has a complicated Jewish story. She has roots, Ashkenazi and Sephardic roots. She's not very religious at all, but Jewish heritage has been a part of her life. And so I would love to talk with her. I'd also have to bring a translator because mi español está muy poco. But if I had, she'd be the one I would invite. Oh, and Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been lovely. So that's who I would invite today. I think she'd be a fascinating dinner guest. And I was especially, I've not everything I've heard her speak. She just, to me, is a fascinating and interesting person. So who all would you invite? And since this is the imagination, we can also bring back people who are no longer with us. It could be someone who's passed away, even someone from history. It could be anybody.
Well, that one I would not physically invite, but mentally invite. I think someone who changed the course of my life when I was 16, that sort of age where the world of the mind is opening up, and whom I spent a short period of time with, and who opened my mind to the excitement of ideas
Mm.
and questioning and investigating and forming one's own opinions.
Mm.
And I think that that did change the course of my life.
Mm.
I wouldn't particularly want to meet them again. I'm grateful to them.
Yes, yes.
I know, and the moment, James, you said about bringing back somebody who was lost, and perhaps in the mood of what Jean said, I would be looking at bringing back my late sister Susanna or Susan. She tragically lost her life, and don't worry, I've spoken about this plenty, so don't feel awkward. She took her own life when she was in her early 30s.
Mm.
She had had undiagnosed mental health issues, but
Yeah.
I got to know her. She was wonderfully clever, witty. She got me into science fiction. She had the sense of humor which you couldn't pin down. I remember once she had this. We did a load of cooking, and everything had to be green. I forget the reason why, but I know it wasn't just curry. I think it was bread as well. I just remember thinking, wow, I just don't know anybody in my life could have done that, and I just wished she'd had such a wonderful opinion of herself, or even close to that, that all the rest of us do. And to have her back in
Yeah.
my life, yes, and content with herself, comfortable, maybe married, maybe not, maybe a successful doctor, just enjoying and being the person I have, and be able to say to her, hey, I love you, you're great. Now, let me tell you that in person, and have a
Yeah.
wonderful meal.
Hmm.
Okay, I've mentioned this before, but after my father died, he came and actually visited me and communicated with me, and also separately Betty Ann. And I thought, oh my goodness, what does this mean? And so I'd love to be able to talk to him and find out what that meant. Was there a very short afterlife, or what? And also my father and I were, I mean, I was no closer to him than anybody else, and we've been closer to other people who didn't come visit us or anything. But we did have a kind of meeting of the minds. He liked comparative religion and this sort of thing. And I'm sure he didn't feel there would be any kind of afterlife, but apparently there was a short one. And I'd just like to find out more about that. That would be lovely.
Hmm. Well, it's been really lovely having everyone here this morning. This has been a really nice service. I'll admit this was kind of the service I needed this morning. It's been kind of I don't know, the last few weeks have been a challenging time, and so I appreciate y'all being here this morning. And we'll leave the Zoom going for a little bit. If folks want to stay and visit for a bit, it's fine. But I guess this will be our close of our service at